name is Jessica Macon. I use she, her pronouns. I work at the Office of Substance Use and Mental Health at the state level, so I work with Heather, who we all know and love. And we're very grateful for all of her work for this. I'm going to be moderating this session today. Thank you for your patience and flexibility as we experience a power outage, because that happens apparently.
Well, as long as it doesn't get 100 degrees, I guess.
Right, as long as we're like safe and not melting. Yeah, that's good. So let me introduce Michaelann here, who is being flexible along with us. So Michaelann is a Senior Impact Director at United Way of Utah County over their emotional health initiative, specifically the Everyday Strong initiative, and scaling their community center model to improve neighborhood attachment. In 2018, together with a group of United Way volunteer experts, she co-created Everyday Strong, which gives families tools to support their teenagers through anxiety and depression. It has since reached 100,000 families across the state of Utah and is now spreading to Virginia, South Dakota, and beyond. From 2012 to 2018, she worked in development and marketing roles at United Way of Utah County. Her favorite projects were corporate crowdfunding campaigns to raise money for Sub for Santa, Housing First, refugees, and childhood literacy. We will pass it to
Thank you
Michaelann.
so much. Hi, I am really excited to teach this today. It's one of my favorite classes to teach. I don't know what you're expecting, but we're going to have to kind of roll with it a little bit because I usually have some slides that kind of show what we're talking about, but this is going to be fun. My guess is that a lot of you will have your own experiences to share. I think that will help us feel really good. I mean, I normally like it anyways, but we're going to do it extra in this environment with all the lights off, no falling asleep. As was mentioned, I run a program called Everyday Strong. And we created it a long time ago in response to the growing numbers of youth anxiety and depression, youth suicide, and in fact, I'm going to pull out something from my phone here as notes. Who here is familiar with the SHARP data? You know what that is? Okay, a couple people. The SHARP data is a survey that the schools administer across the state to ask about youth anxiety, depression, suicidality, drug use, a variety of things. And one of our favorite questions from that, they're asking middle schoolers and high schoolers, during the past 12 months, did you feel so sad or hopeless for 2 weeks or more that you stopped doing some of your usual activities? And that is people who answer yes to that question, feeling so sad or hopeless for 2 weeks or more, is a high likelihood that they're clinically depressed. And if we're looking at Hispanic youth specifically, in 2013, 26% of Hispanic self-identified youth were saying yes to that question. And by 2023, it was 32%. And if you look at the SHARP data, you know, historically we do see just same trends as the general population, but always just a little bit higher, right, with our Hispanic youth. Which I think is unfortunate that we get that gets talked about, right, in a very like specific setting, right? But like, what about everybody else? Is everybody else noticing this? But I do bring that up because I think it's important for us to realize like 32% is a lot of kids, right? A third. But when we looked at this, one thing that we noticed was that there's a lot of really incredible programs out there in schools, a lot of incredible therapists. But did you know that actually the number one factor in a child being able to overcome trauma, whatever the source of the trauma might be, the number one factor is actually the presence of at least one caring adult in their life. And that can be the parent, but it also can be a coach, it can be a teacher. And so we said to ourselves, how are we going to help people know how to create meaningful relationships with youth in a way that is kind of everyday, right? And this is the suicide prevention course, but we actually, I think in our whole slide deck, I think we actually have the word suicide once. We know there's a huge protective factor in speaking plainly and bluntly about suicide, to not be afraid of that word. And we also wanted to create something that people would see themselves in. It wouldn't just be like, oh, that's not my kid, right? It doesn't affect me. And so we created something that was meant not a therapist. I'm an aunt, I'm a mother, I'm a friend, I'm a step-parent. And these are things that work really well for everybody. So here's a question that I have. When I say this word like trusted adult, like caring adult, and you think back on your own childhood, your own teenagehood, who comes to mind as being that trusted adult for you? Teacher? Tell me more about who that teacher was. Like, what grade did she teach? Or
In fifth grade, Mrs. Taylor,
yeah?
which was ironic because my mom shunned me out of her class because she was not very nice to my brothers who preceded me.
Oh.
And luckily enough, she was my teacher during my parents' divorce. And I was young, and so, yeah, she recognized some difficulties I was going through and emotional changes and set up a group, a lunch group with the school counselor, made sure that I was part of that, and just went out of her way to make sure that I was happy and that I had somebody to talk to.
I love that you remember that, like, many, many, many years later, that stuck with you. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I hope to be that for others. Yeah. I know, it's aspirational already. You want to share? Yeah.
Papa,
Your papa? Tell me about him.
he just, I went to a lot of trauma central youth school. I'm a youth growing up, and my grandpa was a guy who always stepped into be my savior. Do as much as he could. He was, him and my grandma drove trucks, so long haul, so as much as he could, he was the one that kind of seen the trauma that I was going through.
Whenever I ask this question, like, I actually find myself starting to get like emotional, right? Because I can feel how much these people have meant to each of you, and I'm sure everyone else in this room. And what I think is really beautiful is that, like, you know, as our grandparents pass, as we're no longer being taught by that person, it actually almost doesn't even matter that they're not, like, actively in our lives, because the memory alone becomes a source of strength during, like, really dark times. And I would love to empower all of you to know with even more skill how you can be that person for those kids that you care about. So before I talk about that, before I give you like kind of the specific model I want to use, so what we're going to do, I want to share with you another metaphor, another way to think about this, and I'm going to teach you a specific model. I actually don't usually wear my shirt when I teach, but today I did. And so I'm going to be our living whiteboard. Hopefully that's not awkward. Because normally we have the slides. But so I'm wearing this today, and I'll kind of teach you this. And then we're going to talk about some specific case studies where this might apply with kids who are probably very similar to kids that you know in your life. Whether that's in your professional capacity or in your personal life, that's kind of where we're going. So, and I don't know, depending on how much y'all want to talk, you know, that the slides might be shorter than normal, but nobody's mad about that, right? So before I talk about that, these allergies are gonna kill me. Anybody here a gardener? Anybody here do anything with plants? Kill them. Yeah, kill them. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You know this experience? Like, okay, so like every summer, like come like May, they have like all of the herbs out at the grocery store, right? And I just am like, ooh, like this is the year, y'all. I'm gonna get some mint, and I'm gonna get some thyme, and I'm gonna get some oregano, and I put it in the kitchen. And it looks so beautiful for like 2 to 4 weeks. And then like the summer heat starts to hit, and I get lazy with the watering. And right now I have a basil plant sitting on my kitchen table that is like doing right. And when I look at those, like I look at this plant, right? And I can imagine, like, well, I can't imagine, but if I were to look at that plant and say, that is a really unmotivated mint plant, or basil plant. This isn't trying very hard. Someone needs to give that plant some motivation to, like, take charge of its life. This is, like, nonsense, right? Like, I would never say that about a plant. I would never say it because plants want to grow. It's in their DNA to thrive. So if a plant isn't thriving, like, why isn't the plant thriving? I know this is obvious, but just clarity. Environment, right? Like food, water, sunlight, right? And our only job when we see a plant doing that is not to like shame or blame, but just to say, like, how can I help this plant do what it naturally wants to do, which is grow towards the light. Also caveat, of course, people are not plants. People have agency and they can use their feet, like in a way that plants can't. So it gets a little complicated, but you know what I mean, right? Yeah. So let's talk about like what is the equivalent of like water, sunlight, soil for a person. When we have someone in our life and it seems like they're just like not thriving. Like what's the equivalent? Second?
Attention.
Attention. Yes. Attention. I love actually that you said that. I'm obsessed. I'm gonna like think about that all day. It's something really beautiful, right? About having someone like see you and notice you.
Knowledge and skills.
Knowledge and skills. Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
I remember when I was growing up,
Yeah.
baseball and how you swung was really important. And people would say, track.
Did you read my deck in advance?
No,
This is
but-
literally in the deck. Keep going.
But there's mechanics to it. To get a flat swing, so that you don't have a dip in your swing or something, it's how you hold your shoulder and your arm. So you have a kid, you keep telling them swing harder, just shame that kid, or someone who knows what they're doing can make a few adjustments to that kid, and then he knows how to swing. But if he doesn't naturally come upon it, an adult
Yeah.
give him that skill,
Yeah.
and then he can swing straight. And so it's not trying harder.
Yeah.
It's knowing
The
the
mechanics.
mechanics.
Same
Yes.
with bowling.
Yes.
I literally wish I could like pull up my slides and just like show you. Yeah, let me kind of take like everything I've heard, attention, love and care, skill, and let me kind of put it all for you in actually one grand unifying. Okay, so we got my shirt here. Sorry, it's gonna be a little weird, but roll with me. Anybody recognize this? Yeah, okay. So I use it.
Yeah, I use it all the time. Okay, so I work with, so basically, if you're unsheltered, okay, and you are trying to think about getting your next meal or housing or food or whatever, you're at the bottom, right? Because you don't have food, shelter, clothing, and that kind of thing. And so why would we want to like give you other resources
Sure.
at the very bottom
Yeah.
when you need your basic needs met first, right? So that's,
Yeah.
sorry.
I love it. That's great. Yes, exactly. So this is a model called Maslow's hierarchy. We actually have one of our Spanish trainers right here. Thank you. And we should have you doing this, honestly. So Maslow was a guy, he was like a researcher, and not just some guy, in the 1950s, who like tried to figure out like, why is it that some people like go on, and he uses the word self-actualize, like go on and just are the thriving basil plant, and why are some people not? And it's what she was saying, right? Anybody here ever been hangry, right? We know that when the basic need isn't met, we're not our best selves. Okay, so far so good. Here's the part though, that where we diverge a little bit from some social work, or maybe how you've heard this before, which is that human beings have other needs, and it is just as possible for us to provide them as it is for me to give you a sandwich, right? And these are the emotional needs, the love, the attention that you're talking about, the need to feel safe, connected, and confident. And what I love about this too is that just in the way that I wouldn't like tell a homeless person, like, just go get a job, right? I also wouldn't try to teach someone, when you're talking about skills, I wouldn't try to teach them those skills until I was like kind of sure that they felt safe with me to even like be able to take that information in. And so this becomes a really useful sort of model to be able to kind of think about like, okay, in what order am I thinking about people's needs? And am I orienting towards this model of caring for their needs rather than just like telling them, try harder, do more, like why are you not just insert whatever, right? Okay. So let's talk about these needs a little bit more. Some of this will be familiar to you, but let's see if we can pull out some insight. Safety, let's talk about that need first. This is real weird, y'all. I should like brought a different shirt and take this one off and hang it up or something. Anyways, safety. Let's talk about safety. Who's someone that you just feel like really relaxed with? You can just be yourself. Like you can just, your spouse? Tell me about them. What do they do that makes you feel that way?
They keep coming back.
I love it. I'm there. I mean, there's something to that, right? Your daughter? What does she do?
She has supported me through the years of addiction, and a lot of times has been the parent over being the child. She's 47, and has really been for a second. I'm hopeless. I seem to be. She always showed something in me that I didn't see that she sees now, and I see now. But I took a lot of years of addiction. I was in addiction for 32 years, and her whole life is 27. So, yeah, I probably feel the same as
All I need, yeah. Or I think for those online, so he was saying that his daughter is the one that he feels the most safe with. He's been in addiction recovery or in active addiction, however you would say it, for 33 years. And she's been there and seen something in him the whole time. And I wish I could almost make that like the poster, right? Because I love that he specifically said how long it was, because this is what we're talking about sometimes with our kids, is like this is not, anything I'm gonna say from here on out is not a like silver bullet, like now everything's fixed, right? Like faith can sometimes take a really, really long time with people. But I love that you said non-judgmental too, I think that's beautiful. What else? Who else are the people in your life that make you feel safe?
You know, I guess it's not one. I guess it's a lot of people in our lives. I think I see it like Spider-Man when he goes with one to another, thing. And then I think we have, if we pay attention, we have a lot of people that is very safe if we can connect.
Yeah.
When you connect with people in a better level, using empathy, using curiosity, using non-judgmental, being there, being present.
Yeah.
When we find someone being present, I think it's a great, anyone can be. I can be my spouse, my son, my grandmother was the one when I was a child, and then, we have people, teachers that I had in elementary school. I can remember their names and what they like for the food, what kind of food they like, because we connected. I think this is the great thing in life, that we can seriously be resilient, and we can find people. I have people in my life, they don't even know they are so safe to me.
Yeah.
They don't even know how safe they are to me, because I can be me. I don't have to put that as that, or we don't have these masks that we use all the time to go by.
Yeah, I love that.
I was just gonna say on the other side of that too is, because there were so many times that when I was a child I didn't feel safe.
Right.
That now I try to be that safe place for the other people, and so a lot like he said, just being present and not judgmental and sharing our stories of peer support. I think that makes a big difference.
Okay, and right here.
I think the safest I feel is when other people hold boundaries with me, and when I can hold boundaries as well, and feel like they're still there, and they're still boundaries.
I love that one so much, right? Because I found sometimes when I'm teaching about like safety, sometimes people are like, well, like what if my kid is smoking marijuana, whatever, right? Like, I'm not talking about like being ruleless, right? Like without rules, but like to be able to set a boundary and say like, here's how far I'm willing to go, but I will always love you. Like that is skillful to try to weave those two, but it's powerful.
My brothers, both our parents have passed away, and so there's three of us, and we have our own group chat separate from the spouses, where it is a safe place, and we do not disclose what we discuss there with anybody else, and so. We give each other a hard time, we hold each other accountable, but we are there for each other no matter what. And that is a special place for me, especially with us not having our parents alive anymore. The bond between us brothers is, We can argue, we can tease each other, we
Yeah.
can, compete against each other,
Yeah.
but nobody's got my back more than those two.
Yeah, wow.
Other than my wife, of course.
Yeah. But I want you guys to notice these phrases, right? So like we're thinking about how do we take this energy that all of you can identify in your lives and how do you sort of translate it into an experience with a teenager, like having your back, like boundaries, like love, like faith. I mean, I'm putting that word on you, but felt appropriate, right? Like just notice like those words, right? And think about someone that you have in your life, like where you are trying to bring that safety. And what would it look like to just even be like 1% more that way with this person? I mean, I don't know about you, but like, I got in a giant blowout fight yesterday with a friend of mine. Like, it was bad. We were at Aubergine of all places, and I'm just like crying, and he's mad, and like, whatever he was doing was like very, very triggering for me, right? It is much easier for me to create safety with someone who I like, who doesn't trigger me, right? But then like, let's take like a teenager, right? Who is maybe feeling a little sassy.
A little?
Yeah, okay, but I'm 10.
My son is 14, that ain't little.
Yes.
That's big.
It's big, right? And then like all of your childish stuff is getting activated and your sense of like, am I even a good parent? And like you're making me mad, right? Like, and to like be like creating safety in that relationship, I mean I'm asking a lot. Let's be honest, right? Let's be honest. So, I don't know, well, we don't have a slide deck, we can do whatever we want, we're free agents. Let's talk about that. What does safety look like in a like really combative relationship with a teenager? Yeah.
Starts with trust, I believe. I have a 13-year-old. I just really got from addiction to my ex-wife. It's still in addiction. I have full custody of my 13-year-old who 14 months ago I had no relationship with. And he didn't want me in his life at all because I was the president, not the president, to see what's going on. I get raised him now. And it's all started with honesty and trust. For him to see that I will be there
Yeah.
and not only be a dictator, because we can be his parents, we can be dictators. My parents are dictators.
Yeah.
What you do, what I say, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Where I believe that there's got to be trust and be able to communicate and have a communication where, like, okay, let me see where you're coming from as well. And
Yeah.
let's communicate this out instead of you doing my way or the highway. Because that doesn't work. And that didn't work with me. That's what led me to the abuse and everything because I was going to be defiant. And you wanted me to do it one way, I'm going to do it my way.
Yeah.
And so I think it all begins with trust. And trust is a huge thing for, especially teenagers.
Yeah.
To know that they can trust you and you're going to have their back on them.
Yeah.
So I believe that's a huge thing.
Yeah, so I'm with people online, I gotta keep remembering that you're there. So just to repeat what he said, he was saying that trust is a huge thing, and like making sure that they know that you're gonna have their back. Yeah, hand. Ooh, yeah, please, yeah.
I was thinking of the importance of maybe actual. Active listening to them, or that really deep and just calm communication. I'm not a parent yet, I don't know what it's like to have a teenager yelling at me, but I know when I was a teenager yelling, underneath it was I just desperately wanted to be heard.
Yeah.
And I don't know how easy it is to be the strong tree in that situation and kind of back out of the fighting and bring in communication and just try to get to the bottom of what are they really trying to tell me.
Yeah.
And then also boundaries with that.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
I love that she's saying this, you know, that like a lot of times like people just deeply want to be listened to, like deeply actively listened to. And a lot of times, you know, when, I mean, even like from like young children, I mean, part of what was happening with my friend yesterday was like, I wasn't feeling heard and I get angrier and angrier and he gets angrier and angrier, right? And someone has to be willing to go first to listen, right? And so this is what I hear you saying. I think you know what it's like to be parented even if you don't know how to parent. Like, you know what you crave, right? Yeah, yeah.
So in the pyramid you just show your t-shirts.
Yeah.
According to Maslow, when the physiological need is met,
Yeah.
people look for safety.
Yeah, right.
Okay? So they're trying to see where can I be secure,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So same thing for teenager.
yeah,
We need to help them see exactly where is a safe place
yeah, yeah,
or safest place in their
Yeah.
life.
yeah,
Because
Yeah.
when they find that
Yes.
area,
yes.
it will reduce anxiety
Mm-hmm,
and the fear will go away.
mm-hmm.
Okay? So, I mean, most of the time when we talk about safety, we don't consider the aspect
Yeah,
of securing
right,
individuals' anxiety
Yeah.
and fear.
yeah,
So then, when we reach this level of security,
Yeah.
the teenager
Yeah.
can reach the highest level
Yeah.
of needs.
yes, absolutely. And you almost like, it's almost like when we're talking about that plant, it almost seems spontaneous how it starts to thrive, right? But it's, all this is just, yeah, go ahead.
Just to add on to what
Yeah.
everyone has mentioned, we work in Salt Lake County Services.
Well, yeah.
Anyways, we have caseloads and quite a few throughout the year. And there's one thing I notice quite a few of my clients have in common, and that's like I'm on the phone with mom or dad and they're not getting the attention. You know, it's like, it's like pulling, and sometimes with the parent, it's like, we'll just have this discussion later just because it's that attention that they really want. And, when you sit down and really talk with them, and, since you really build that rapport, they really don't feel like they're heard, and they don't feel like that the parents are understanding them. And that's why
Yeah.
they act out.
Yeah. Yeah, to repeat that back to the camera, he was saying that a lot of times he notices when he's like on a call with the parents and the kids, and like the parents just like simply aren't attending or just not noticing, they're not paying attention to the kid, and you can tell that it's not going to be, tell me if I can get this right, productive, like until they actually learn how to just, in some ways, just like look at their child and just give them like even like moments. I think is my experience sometimes. It doesn't have to be like 2 hours of undivided attention, but just like, they talk about this actually with babies. They talk about the blissful gaze between a mom and a baby and how important it is for our development. And even just this moment of like, hey, like, I don't have like more than like 5 minutes if I gotta get out of my second job or whatever it is, but like, let me just sit and like be with you, right? Yeah. Okay, got something else. Hey, go ahead, yeah. Yeah.
Speak up though, Chaz.
Okay.
How loud can you shout?
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm just a soft-spoken person, but anyways, what I was mentioning is, when I talk to my clients and everything, they want to feel loved.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
a lot of times they don't feel like they're getting that love
Yeah.
that they just seek. And as we know, the opposite of addiction is connection.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and a lot of clients that I talk to, have that issue with their parents, not being there at times, and it really makes them feel like they need to act out,
Yeah.
and really it's all about communication
Yeah.
and helping the parents, connecting them with parenting classes.
Yeah.
That will help that barriers, so that way they can have a much better, successful relationship with their kiddo.
Yeah.
And honestly, just by doing that, when parents and our clients, when they're engaging and willing to do it, the results are remarkable.
Yeah.
That's what really motivates me.
Yeah, you're just saying that like people all just like really want to be loved, and if they're acting out, it's often because they're not getting that, and it can be just a matter of helping parents learn that skill, right? And when they have that skill, things can go so much better. Yeah.
I was just gonna say too, it's important to remember that there's a difference between listening and hearing.
Yeah.
You can listen to music, but do you hear the words?
Yeah.
And so a lot of times communication gets misconstrued, and kids don't feel safe saying things because the parent can take it completely out of context.
Yeah.
And so just, like with your friend, and
Yeah.
we felt like we weren't being heard.
Yeah.
But maybe he was hearing something different. And so just really breaking down that communication to make sure that each other knows where they're coming from and
Yeah.
how they can express what they need.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I feel like that triggered a thought for me and it's gone. Let's go back to it.
Is that hand over here? Yeah. A lot of times what I talk about with young people is that it's such a parallel process to that 4 to 5 timeframe as far as like
Yeah.
so much development,
Yeah.
so much like
Yeah.
like trying to search for independence but still needing the comfort of the
Yeah.
caregivers, all of those things.
Yeah.
We are most of the time infinitely patient with like 4 to 5 children, so
Sure.
we're like, oh, they're still learning. Teenagers and young adults, it's the same thing. Like their brain's still developing, their body's like a hormonal cocktail of mess. But we're less patient with them because they are less adorable than babies, right? Like they will tell you to fuck off, and usually 3-year-olds won't sometimes, but and so I think when I remind myself that it's like they're in very parallel process to that time,
Yeah.
and they're trying to figure out who they are and what their boundaries are and how to be independent, it makes it a little bit easier to manage my own stuff in the process of that because you just have to be patient in that same way.
Yeah. And I want to add a little bit just a complete back over here. So she was saying that, there's a lot of parallel processes between like birth to 5 and then like, maybe like 11 to 16, right? And we have a lot more patience with babies than we do with teenagers. I do want to add a complicating factor though, right? So we were talking earlier about plants and how, plants sometimes don't thrive because they don't have what they need. But as I mentioned even then, like plants also don't have agency, right? And as we age, as we get older, start to get 16, 17, 20, 21, you do start to have more ability to get your own needs met. And so I do think that this woman over here mentioned about boundaries as adults. A little bit outside of the curriculum at this point, but I just want to make sure that we're clear here, right? That I'm not sure where you're at on your relationship journey, but we got to be able to hold both in our hands, right? It's not just anything goes. Whatever our kids do, it's cool, it's fine. I don't care if you swear at me. I don't care if you hit your sister, right? Those boundaries are still good. I want to kind of briefly touch on connection and confidence really quick. Then I actually want to throw out to you some case studies of kids that you might know, or kids that might be parented by the parents that you know, and how you would help someone work through those. So we talked about safety, then we talked about connection, and I just want to say really quick too that I actually think it's really beautiful to think about safety coming before connection. Sometimes if it seems like the kid doesn't want to connect, if they're doing the porcupine bristles thing, it's often because we need to drop down into creating more safety. And then thinking about confidence and competence at the top of the pyramid. This is where we start to teach skills. Skills like how to apply for a job, skills like how to communicate your emotions, skills like how to hit a baseball, right? And sometimes we want to jump there really quickly to the competence level before we thought about what comes before that, right? The other thing I want to say too with this is we've actually attempted to draw this as a cycle because we're never finished. Always safety, connection, confidence over and over. So it's not like you have to have your child feel perfectly safe with you before you move on to connection, right? It just kind of helps you think through the steps of how you might problem solve for it. With me?
Well, but they're constantly reaffirming.
Yeah.
It's like kids that you're at the playground, and this happens with my dog.
Yeah.
At the dog park. She'll go play a little bit, and then she'll come back to make sure I'm still there, I'm still okay.
Yeah.
And then she'll go off again.
Yeah.
Because that's a constant reaffirmation, I think, for all of us.
Yeah. I could go so nerdy right now about neuroscience and window of tolerance. Y'all know that term? It's just a term for how do we learn to tolerate things that are big and scary for us, right? And we want to be constantly expanding that for our kids and letting them run away at the dog park and then come back home, metaphorically, right? Yeah. Okay. So let's do this. Okay. So let's take the example while she's kind of plugging that in. I want you to imagine a 15-year-old named Nathan. And he has come to you and he says,
Good name.
he says that I'm going to drop out of school. I'm done. I'm over it. I have like failed so many classes, and I have like just let's see, doesn't work. Is that on the screen? Yep, perfect. I failed so many classes that, and I just like can't even possibly catch up. So, what do I even do? And I actually want to see if I can play this.
You order packets
Yes,
from Northbridge.
it'll go great.
Yeah.
No problems at all, of
That's
course.
what my 18-year-old had to do.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me actually really quick pull up my hotspot because I do want to show you this video. It's funny actually. Every time I show this this about Nathan, like someone in the room is like, "Is that my kid?" I'm like, "No, it's just a case study." But we all know this kid, right? You know, his teachers are saying that he usually skips class to smoke weed. So before I show you this video, where you're gonna watch this therapist kind of like walk him through the pyramid, this is a thought experiment. What usually happens to a kid like Nathan? Packets. What else? How do the adults usually respond to Nathan?
Does he go to summer school?
Yeah.
He's just gonna go to summer school.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what
Or
we're
he's
going
gonna die and go to fail.
We don't want to deal with it, right?
Lose faith and hope.
Lose faith and hope. Oh. I've been really big into faith and hope lately. It's like my jam. I don't know. It just feels like so crucial. Yeah. Anything else? A lot of like punishment, right? You don't hear act-togethers and da-da-da-da, right? A lot of bribing. If you will just go to school today, I'll give you a gas card, right? And it's all this like external energy trying to get them to budge, right? And it's not budging. So I want to show you this video of his therapist talking about his experience with him. And I just want you to note, every time I watch this, something new comes up. So I guarantee you can find something in this. Just note how Matt talks to him and what he does, and just, yeah, what you see.
Nathan came in and I kind of went into my pyramid mode. And I was thinking, okay, well, it sounds like he just doesn't do well in school, but let's start at the bottom. And I said, well, how are you sleeping? Not very well, actually. So we talked about that. Are you eating well? I've gained 10 pounds in the last 6 months. Getting anything for exercise? No. And so we kind of start processing, and I say, you know, maybe we could work on some of these things, get a little more sunshine. And he's kind of still got his head down. And I said, I really want to know how you're feeling about dropping out of high school. Can we talk about that? And we continued to talk, and I think I was doing my very best. All I was thinking in my mind is, how do I be safe? How do I not judge him? How do I not fix this? How do we sort of figure out how to collaborate? And at some point, Nathan started just crying, and I had no idea why. These tears. And he said, Dr. Swenson, for the last 2 weeks, I've driven to school. I've sat in my car in the parking lot for 6 hours, and then I've driven home. Because he was too anxious to face the school administrators, too overwhelmed to talk to his parents or to drop out. He was devastated. And I felt so grateful to be the first person he told that to. And I thanked him. And we made a lot of progress after that, moving him forward, talking about his relationships, and then putting together a plan for school, which he did go back and he did graduate. But he just needed a safe place. He needed a safe place to talk.
Okay, what did you notice in that video? You got emotional. Nathan, you mean? Oh.
Like he did a little bit.
I mean, think about how easy it is. I'm sure we all experience this too. Like, you get the same kid coming in over and over and over and over and over and over. It's like, I can't have this conversation. But like, Matt is remarkable in that I think he always somehow manages to stay connected to like his humanity. And I think that comes through in how he treats people. What else? It's just like a mantra, right? Because even when we're not trying to be judgmental, it comes out in little ways, right?
So, like I said earlier, his goal was how to reduce his anxiety and fear level. Because he can move to the next step until this bridge has been, this gap has been.
I love that image of a bridge being gapped, right? Yeah, totally, yeah. You gotta go there first. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, empathetic, because I'm sitting here thinking, I put myself in that place with the kids, sitting like I'm gonna get harassed, the principal's gonna be on me, he's gonna be upset with me. Like, even if I try, they're gonna be on me.
Yeah, and you know, Matt even has said other times, not in this video, but he was like, my first reaction when Nathan said this to me was like hell you are, like you're gonna drop out, like absolutely not. But you have to kind of like take a step back, right?
You let Nathan talk. Just sort of okay, you're gonna drop out, tell me how you feel about it, and let him instead of him just talking to me about telling me what to do. Yeah, just let me do like.
And you know,
Sorry, he created a safe space, because when you create a safe space, then you can trust, and then when you can trust, then you can let go, and then you can cry, such as what he did, and that creates stability, and that's kind of where it all goes together.
well, and I think it's fascinating because I think sometimes as parents we're like, or whoever we are, relationships guys are like, okay, but like I know how to solve this, like I have all the answers, right?
Yeah.
But like here's the thing, I guarantee you, like Matt knows exactly what one does to overcome clinical depression. He'll give you all the exact steps, all the CBT, all the whatever. That's not the point. The point isn't who's right. Yeah.
Well, and Nathan did disclose his anxiety in the first visit.
Oh yeah, I think he's been
No,
seeing
this-
him for months at this point.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing is that, in the big picture.
Yeah.
'Cause I've learned this with my own son, as he struggles with his choices. I don't have to take ownership of it.
Yeah.
You know, as
That's
an
like saying
18
about boundaries, right?
well, as an 18-year-old, he is all about, I'm a man now, I can make my own choices.
Oh, bless.
And I'm like, you know, I have to stop myself from laughing at it because clearly he has a lot to learn. But dropping out of school or not graduating your senior year is not the end of the world.
It's recoverable from.
It absolutely is. And my wife, she's stressing out, and I'm like, you know what? He'll learn. He is intelligent. I have no doubt that he can graduate, but we can't force him if he doesn't want to do it. And I think that was very liberating for me not to carry that baggage. He did graduate. He did have to do some extra work. Whereas if he had just gone to class the whole semester, he wouldn't have had to do the packets, right? But everybody learns differently. You know, for my wife and I, we didn't struggle with school. We understood the game and the system, and we didn't buck up against it. But some people have to buck up against the system for them to learn or for them to feel like they have control. And so I think, you know, Dr. Swenson is like a lot of the really good counselors that we've experienced. He's very calm, and he truly cares about the individual. And that comes across to the patient.
Yeah, and I think like what I think is so great about that, right? Like I love that you are able to do that as a parent because like, I mean, oh boy, like that is like huge to try to do that. And sometimes you do need to pull in the extra help, like the therapist, the friend, right? Because it is just a huge task to ask a parent to do that. But I love that you're able to. We've got like 5 minutes left, and I did want to just kind of touch briefly on one that was specific about suicidal ideation, just so we kind of wrap that back into like the theme of what this is supposed to be about. Let's talk about this kid, Kobe. So Kobe comes to you, and he's estranged, he lives at home, he feels isolated, like life is lacking meaning, he's been having suicidal thoughts. and feeling demoralized by porn addiction. Those are his words. What usually happens to a teenager like Kobe? Kind of similar, right? A lot of like, wow, let me just tell you how to fix this, right? Back up. What does it look like in this situation to use a pyramid on a kid like Kobe? I'm actually curious about this one. So, like, let's imagine, okay, so make things a little more specific. You are, I don't know what your roles all are, but you've got some kind of relationship to Kobe, uncle, support, something like that. And he comes to you and he's standing in front of you and he just has told you, like just in this exact moment, he says, you know, gosh, like, I feel really lousy and I think sometimes like kind of want to end it all, right? And that 1,000-yard stare in his face. Where do you start using the pyramid? A hug? Yeah. If he wants it, right?
I can't do that.
If it's his uncle.
Oh,
and then-
okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. I should have, I was like, keep all your rules.
Yeah.
What?
Keep all your rules.
Sorry.
But okay, but there's a lot more. I mean, there's a jillion things that are physical needs, y'all. Come on. Yeah.
I mean, is he have his physical needs met, right? Like, he's living at home.
Are you getting enough sleep?
Is he getting enough sleep? Is he eating? Is he like all of those things?
And like, I know this is like almost like so simple it almost feels stupid. Like, but like, I just want you, like, I don't know if you've ever been, so I've had like a couple times in my life where like, I don't know why, but I've gotten so anxious that I stop eating, right? And honestly, if someone had just said like, let me just make you food right now, right? It would have done worlds for my mental health. And I'm not sure I could have actually even said that. Like, I was so anxious and like, just feeling like, I don't know, I guess unworthy is a word there. I don't know what the word is, right? Not to get too personal, right? But just like, to just think about like, you don't even need to know that he's hungry to just offer that as a way of taking a step towards meeting his needs. You get what I'm saying? And it's very, very different to say, can I make you a meal? Can I help you get more sleep? Versus like, well, you know, the doctors say that 8 to 10 pieces of fruit a day, like whatever, like, you get what I mean by the energy difference? Yeah? Okay. What about safety? I think all of us here are probably great listeners. I know we're out of time. But how does safety play a role with a kid like this? Yeah.
I think the very first, would be just validating the experience.
Yeah.
No solutions.
Right.
No, just
Yeah. Like, wow, I'm super hard. Like, that sounds really hard. Yeah.
Just roughly asking if they have a plan.
Totally.
Just
Totally. Yeah. And let me actually tell you why that matters for safety. Is because a lot of times if you are feeling suicidal or whatever that it is, it feels like a lot of shame. To just say like, you know what, like whatever you're going through, it is like in some ways so normal to me that I can just ask this with great clarity and it's like fine. Like I don't feel grossed out or weirded out by you telling me that. In fact, I feel closer to you because you told me. We are like out of time. Any other thoughts? But they got your hand through like some questions. But connection, confidence, anything you want to throw out there about Kobe? Yeah.
Well, I just think as parents, in your moral driving you to get focused on, oh, we gotta deal with this porn, oh, that's not, that is, that's down the road. We're not ready to deal with that.
I love that you said that, right? Because I think often we jump really quick to like, let's get you an internet filter, let's get you an accountability buddy, let's get you like all these like skills, confidence thing, right? And like, we'll get there, but not yet. Yeah, I love you. Awesome. Well, I'll just say in closing, thank you all so much. It was such a pleasure to be here with you today. Man, like, this stuff is hard. Like, it's so hard. I was talking, I can't remember who it was, like right before we started about not even you, about somebody lost to suicide, and I've lost people recently as well to suicide. I mean, it's heavy stuff, right? But I do love orienting myself, thinking about people in my mind as these plants, thinking about my own possibility to not need to like fix their life, but to contribute to their life. By thinking about how can I help them feel safe and connected and confident? How can I pour into them a little bit? Trusting that there is a logic there, there's an intention there. Seeking a good life, right? Even if it doesn't look like it right in this moment. It brings me a lot of compassion. And if you want to stay connected, we do have a website, and we've got like a bunch more content, podcast videos about these common questions that I get a lot. You might see yourself in it, but I'd love to connect with you there. My email's on there as well if you want to connect. But thank you. It was really beautiful to be with you.